Global Monetary Watch latest news. Welcome back to a discussion that is meant for you, the individual who has navigated the long and often turbulent waters of this journey. This isn't a message tailored for an algorithm or a set of metrics on a digital dashboard. Rather, direct conversation with the person who has dedicated years to deciphering the complex reality of Iraq's economic landscape. You have spent countless hours filtering through a sea of noise, attempting to identify the genuine signals of progress while managing the inherent doubts that come with such a long-term commitment. It is important to acknowledge that the patience required to remain engaged in this process is significant, and the weight of that weight is something I recognize deeply. However, something fundamental shifted this past week, and while it wasn't the kind of loud, explosive event that makes for a sensationalist headline, represented a profound movement in the structural story we have been tracking together for a very long time. We must be very deliberate in how we characterize these recent shifts because it is far too easy in this space to lean into hyperbole. I am not here to suggest that a clandestine agreement was reached in the middle of the night or that a sudden, transformative event has fundamentally altered the landscape in a single stroke. This channel has never been about chasing the rumors of self-proclaimed insiders who claim to have a direct line to a new rate. Instead, focus remains on the structural evolution that occurs beneath the surface, the quiet, methodical movements that actually dictate the future of a nation's financial architecture. This week, those movements became increasingly visible across several distinct fronts, and for the observant participant, very quietness of these developments is the strongest signal of their legitimacy and importance. It is vital to maintain a sense of honesty about the current state of affairs, which means acknowledging that there are no guaranteed timelines or secret triggers waiting to be pulled, suggests they have a definitive date for a major change, is providing a disservice to your understanding of the process. Tonight is to provide you with the clarity that comes from objective analysis, focusing on what actually happened across the various reform fronts in Iraq. Understanding the architecture behind these developments, the surrounding noise loses its ability to cause confusion or emotional volatility. We'll look at the concrete steps taken by the Ministry of Finance, the legislative changes regarding border management, and the high-level shifts occurring within the banking and political sectors. First major development involves a series of high-level meetings at Iraq's Ministry of Finance. Government has been transparent about its commitment to fostering a hospitable environment for international investment. Headline about investment environments might seem like standard bureaucratic language. The context here is what truly matters. Minister of Finance Taif Sami Mohammed met with the South Korean ambassador to Baghdad to discuss a significant deepening of bilateral relations, specifically targeting financial and economic integration. This isn't just a symbolic gesture, it is a technical discussion about the automation of banking systems and the implementation of digital infrastructure. South Korea is a global technological leader. Their continued, deep-seated involvement in Iraq, even amidst regional tensions, serves as a powerful indicator that institutional actors see a credible path forward for the country's financial systems. When an advanced nation like South Korea engages in formal diplomatic talks regarding banking automation, they're acting as a gatekeeper for global financial standards. These discussions are centered on ensuring that Iraq's financial plumbing is compatible with international systems like SEPA-IFT and the ISO 2022 messaging standard. This level of integration is essential for capital to move efficiently and transparently across borders, and it is a requirement for any nation seeking to participate fully in the modern global economy. That these meetings are occurring now suggests that the international community is moving past the phase of simple observation and into the phase of active technical alignment. This is a pragmatic realization that the return on investment in Iraq is being viewed as a tangible, long-term reality by sophisticated global players. Presence of major multinational corporations like Siemens, Chevron, and ExxonMobil further reinforces this narrative of stability and operational growth. These entities do not maintain a presence in volatile regions without a rigorous assessment of the risk-to-reward ratio. They employ specialized teams of analysts whose sole job is to determine when a region is no longer viable for capital investment. These companies have not only remained, but continue to operate within Iraq's vital economic sectors, tells a story that contradicts the more alarmist narratives often found in the news. Suggests that from a corporate and institutional perspective, the environment is shifting from an aspirational goal of reform to an operational reality where business can be conducted according to global expectations. Critical development this week occurred within the Iraqi House of Representatives where a significant restructuring of parliamentary committees took place. The legislature voted to reduce the number of standing committees from 25 down to 22, but in doing so, they created a new, specialized committee dedicated entirely to the management of border crossings. This move is far more than a simple administrative shuffle. It is a targeted strike at one of the most significant sources of financial leakage in the country. Border crossings have long been described as the main artery for non-oil revenue, historically been plagued by corruption, invoice manipulation, and smuggling. By dedicating a specific parliamentary body to this issue is signaling a high-level commitment to cleaning up the trade infrastructure. This new committee is tasked with an extensive reform mandate, tightening controls over imports, curbing the manipulation of quantities and invoices, and preventing the dumping of foreign goods that harm local production, to increase the efficiency of revenue collection and build confidence among local and international investors who require a fair and competitive market. For a country that has been historically dependent on oil exports, the successful management of customs and tariffs is the foundation of economic diversification. This is a structural necessity that must be addressed to ensure that the non-oil economy can thrive, providing a more stable and varied financial base for the nation's future. To this border reform is the increasing pressure on the Kurdistan region to unify its customs procedures with the federal government. This has been a long-standing point of contention. The language being used by parliamentary members this week has taken on a new tone of urgency. There's a demand for an immediate solution and the full unification of standards across all of Iraq's borders. Currently, the SUSIDA automated customs system is approximately 90% implemented across the country, with the remaining 10% located primarily within the Kurdistan region. The push for 100% compliance is a sign that the federal government is no longer willing to allow regional discrepancies to hinder the broader national reform agenda. This unification is a prerequisite for a cohesive national economy that can interface seamlessly with international trade partners. The political landscape in Baghdad has also seen rapid developments, particularly regarding the leadership of the next government. Significant shift occurred this week as 6 senior leaders within the Sheet Coordination Framework publicly withdrew their support for Nouri al-Maliki as a candidate for the premiership. This was not a quiet disagreement, it was a transparent statement of opposition, with officials noting that the number of seats opposed to his candidacy now constitutes roughly 2/3 of the framework. When a political figure loses the support of a supermajority within their own coalition, it represents a structural collapse of their candidacy. This shift suggests a move toward political stability and a preference for leadership that can maintain positive relations with both domestic and international stakeholders. The international dimension of this political shift is underscored by the firm stance taken by the United States State Department. In an unusually direct communication, indicated that the nomination of al-Maliki for the prime minister position would force a complete reassessment of the bilateral relationship between the US and Iraq. This is a clear signal that international partners are prioritizing leadership that is perceived as reform-oriented and capable of maintaining the country's current trajectory toward global integration. This external pressure, combined with internal shifts within the coordination framework, points toward a political environment that favors continuity and the steady progression of the reform agenda that has been established over the past few years. Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani's tenure has been characterized by this very sense of continuity and a focus on measurable outcomes. His administration has built credible relationships with global financial institutions like the IMF and the World Bank, and his economic policies have led to tangible results. Under his leadership, has grown its gold reserves to 174 tons and maintained foreign currency reserves of approximately 115 billion, all while keeping inflation at relatively low levels. These metrics are not merely talking points, they are the evidence of a disciplined approach to fiscal and monetary management. International investors look for this kind of track record when deciding where to commit capital, and al-Sudani's administration has consistently provided the stability and data that institutions require. Perhaps the most technical, yet most significant development of the week is what is being called an existential test for the Iraqi banking sector. For several years, the Central Bank of Iraq has been working with world-class consulting firms like Oliver Wyman and Ernst & Young to restructure the nation's financial institutions. This process has reached a new, intensive phase, with the central bank expanding its supervisory tools to the highest level seen since 2003. This is a comprehensive audit of the entire sector, focusing on compliance, electronic infrastructure, risk management, and the integrity of senior management. Is to move beyond paper compliance where rules are followed only on the surface, and toward actual compliance, where international standards are embedded in the daily operations of every bank. This heightened scrutiny is resulting in a significant shake-up of the market. Institutions that cannot meet these rigorous new standards are being marginalized or pushed out of service. The central bank is openly discussing a strategy to reduce the total number of operating banks through mergers or the revocation of licenses for non-compliant entities. This move toward a leaner, efficient banking sector is designed to ensure that the remaining institutions can operate according to Basel III standards. A credible banking system is the essential infrastructure for any modern economy, and by forcing this transition, central bank is preparing the country for deeper integration with global capital markets and correspondent banking networks. It is important to understand that banking reform is not a separate track from monetary reform. They are two sides of the same coin. A country cannot successfully update its currency or its exchange rate if the banking system tasked with managing that currency is dysfunctional or untrusted by the international community. Work being done today: implementing ISO 2022, automating systems, and enforcing strict compliance is the necessary groundwork for any future monetary adjustments. When the infrastructure is solid and the systems are verified by international partners, the foundation for monetary credibility is established. This preparation is the quiet work that must be completed before any major public-facing changes can take hold. The history of exchange rate adjustments in Iraq provides a clue into how these transitions occur. When the last major adjustment was made, it was implemented with a focus on being effective immediately. Public countdown. This suggests that the real work happens in the background, in the technical and structural phases. Announcement is simply the moment when that work becomes visible to the world. Therefore, the acceleration of structural reforms we are seeing now in banking, customs, and investment law should be viewed as the active phase of preparation. The focus is on building a system that can sustain change and command respect on the global stage, then rushing toward a premature announcement. The convergence of these signals, the technological partnership with South Korea, the legislative focus on border revenue, shift toward stable leadership, and the central bank's existential test for banks points to a country that is methodically checking the boxes required by the global financial elite. Isolated incidents, they are part of a coordinated effort to modernize a nation that has been sidelined for decades. The pace of structural change can feel slow to those who have been watching for years. It is the most durable form of progress. It is the type of reform that, once completed, is very difficult to reverse and provides a stable platform for future growth. For those of you who have stayed the course, the key is to remain grounded in these facts rather than the emotional highs and lows of the rumor mill. Quiet signal of structural evolution is far more meaningful than any sensationalist claim of a backroom deal. The work being done by institutions like the IMF and the World Bank, private consulting firms, is public and verifiable. It shows a clear trajectory toward a more transparent and integrated Iraqi economy. By focusing on these developments, you can maintain a realistic and informed perspective on the journey, understanding that the architecture of reform is being built piece by piece, even if it doesn't always make the loudest noise. As we look forward, there are several key areas to monitor that will provide further insight into the speed and direction of these reforms. Resolution of the Prime Minister's position will be a major indicator of political stability and the continuation of the current economic path. Similarly, the progress of the banking restructuring will show how quickly the sector can align with international standards. The pressure on customs unification will also be a vital sign of the government's ability to enforce national standards across all regions. These are the practical, world developments that dictate the future, and they are the metrics by which we should measure progress. Your role in this process is to stay informed and prepared. Preparation is not about making frantic decisions based on the latest rumor. It is about having a clear, calm plan and understanding the structural reality of the environment. Who navigate these moments best are those who have done the work to understand the underlying architecture and have not allowed the noise of the space to dictate their actions. Demonstrated incredible patience and dedication by following this story for so long. Commitment to understanding the truth is what will serve you best as the structural story continues to unfold. Ultimately, the global interests of nations like the United States and South Korea, institutions like the IMF and BS are aligned with Iraq's success. These partners have invested significant time and resources into ensuring that Iraq can meet international financial standards. Interests is a powerful force that drives the reform agenda forward, even in the face of domestic challenges. The transformation of Iraq's financial and economic system is a complex year project, but the events of this week show that the momentum is behind the reformists and the structural changes are taking root in a way that is increasingly visible to those who know where to look. Exchange latest news will continue to monitor these developments with a focus on accuracy, neutrality, and structural analysis. We will keep tracking the data, the legislative changes, the international engagements that define this journey. Thank you for your continued trust and for being a part of this community of informed and grounded individuals. Your engagement and your commitment to the facts are what make this discussion valuable. Stay steady, keep your eyes on the structural signals that the foundation of progress is built through patient and methodical work.